Hey everybody, this is Bill. I'm the salty old Marine. A lot of veterans have a variety of disabilities, and they file for VA disability. And eventually they get to a certain point, and sometimes they get to 100%. And it's interesting to me the way that they get there, basically. Very few veterans have a 100% rating for one particular condition right out of the box, and they're done, one condition and done. It does happen, but usually it's through a combination of disabilities. Now, I've noticed that some disabilities follow a particular path, and so I kind of want to talk about that. I didn't actually have a strategy. I did not. But what happened with me kind of resembles a strategy in a way. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, because it could be a strategy. Like I said, in my case, I was a stumble bum, but it could actually be a strategy, and it was a good one. I just lucked into that. So let's talk about it. First thing I filed a claim for was tinnitus, ringing in the ears. I did receive a 10% rating for tinnitus. It's a subjective claim. Nobody can test you for tinnitus to say you have it or you don't have it. It's based on self-reporting. So the real question is it service-connected? In my case, my MOS was military police, and the military conceded, or the VA conceded, that military police work has a moderate exposure to loud noises, which was certainly true. In my case, I got tinnitus because my earplug fell out on the rifle range while I was in boot camp, and I fired all day long with no earplug, and I've had tinnitus ever since. I put that in my personal statement. I got a 10% rating. That was my very first claim. It was only after that I saw some ads on Facebook for VA therapy for PTSD, and I had been having nightmares regarding some particular incidents since I was in my 50s. And I thought, maybe I'll reach out. My first thought was therapy. I wasn't even thinking about disability. And so I called, and I got plugged in to therapy, and I started talking to a psychologist and getting the therapy, and it was moderately helpful. I still get therapy to this day, and it's been several years later. But along the way, I thought maybe I should be applying for VA disability for my PTSD. It's pretty severe, according to the doctors. So I went ahead and I did file for that, and lo and behold, I got a 70% rating for PTSD. So I had 10% for tinnitus and 70% for PTSD. And this is something that I think a lot of veterans can take away. If you're going to get to 100%, you need at least one big ticket item. I hate to say it that way. It sounds very mercenary, but that's literally how it works. So you're never going to get to 100% by piling up 10% ratings. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying, wow, yay you if you can do that. That's a lot of 10% ratings. But at least one big rating kind of gets you over the hump. So 10% tinnitus, 70% for PTSD. My next claim was for sleep apnea. Now, this is something that my cardiologist had been after me about for years because I have atrial fibrillation, which, by the way, is not service-connected. It's just something I have. My doctor felt that it was caused by sleep apnea. I strongly didn't want to believe I had sleep apnea, even though my wife told me I do. She's been sleeping next to me for 25 years, and she said, yeah, you stop breathing in the middle of the night. So I thought, okay, fine, I'll go get tested. So I went and got a home study sleep test, and yes, I have sleep apnea, and so I was prescribed a CPAP. In fact, I just got a brand new CPAP from the VA yesterday and tried it last night. And I've been using my CPAP. This is a new one, but I've been using the old one for well over a year now. So, it's according to the numbers it produces, I'm being helped by it. So yes, I have sleep apnea. It's diagnosed. I put in a claim, and yes, I got my sleep apnea approved as secondary to my PTSD, and that was for 50%, which is actually the standard rating for someone who has sleep apnea and has a diagnosis, has a prescription for a CPAP or other assisted breathing type device, similar device to a CPAP that helps you with your obstructive sleep apnea. So, okay, so I got that 50%. Now, 10% tinnitus, 70% PTSD, 50% for sleep apnea. That got me to 90%. But 90% is where a lot of veterans stall out because it's really hard to get from 90% to 100%. You wouldn't think so, but due to VA math, it's really difficult. Getting that last 10% takes some more big ticket items. So I've got a 10, I've got a 70, I've got a 50. In order to get from 90% to 100%, I had to get migraines, 50%. GERD, acid reflux, 10%. And finally, IBS, 30%. Taken together, that got me to 100%. And because I think of my age and the fact that these types of conditions are typically static, meaning they're chronic, they don't get better, it's P&T, it's permanent and total. So for me, that's a really big deal. That means a lot. It changes a lot of things. But what I wanted to talk about was not what happened to me so much as that's kind of an example of how it's done. If your goal is to get to 100% permanent and total with VA disability, you're probably going to do it with a number of claims that add up to 100%. So again, VA math being what it is, it sounds crazy. 10%, 70%, 50%, 50%, 30%, and 10% got me to 100%. I don't even know what those are all added up using regular people math, but it's more than 100%. But that's how VA math works, my friends. So for some of you, the journey is going to be different, right? All of my claims, other than my tinnitus, were all secondary to PTSD, every one of them. And to a large extent, except for the sleep apnea, they were all subjective claims, meaning they were at least mostly based upon what I said, the things that I described, right? Now, let me be clear. I did not lie. I did not cheat. I did not exaggerate. The things I say that I have, I have. I receive treatment for them even now, long after I'm rated and I'm permanent total. And I guess theoretically I could just stop getting treatment now, but I'm not better. I still have these things, so I still get the treatment. Especially my PTSD. I still go to therapy every week over at the vet center, and maybe I always will. I don't know. The sleep apnea, I use the CPAP every freaking night. The medication that I take for my GERD and for my IBS, it's a constant struggle. About the only thing I don't get treatment for is tinnitus, because there's nothing much you can do about tinnitus. Other veterans are going to have other types of journeys, musculoskeletal conditions, for example. People who jump out of planes, people who are mechanics and hurt their bodies in a variety of ways are going to have a different sort of a different climb from whatever percent they start at to 100%. And I get that. But that was my journey. So I just wanted to kind of share that, give you some ideas about things that work. And I hope that you found that ramble useful. I'm Bill. I am the Salty Old Marine. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, tell a friend. And as always, have a great day.